with Marty Bureau. Marty, here's an observation I've made. Nothing seems to come easy for this Maple Leafs team.
One coach gone, one problem targeted, but the numbers refuse to change. The Toronto Maple Leafs pulled the trigger on a major staff decision, yet the power play stayed silent. What followed did not bring relief. It brought pressure. And inside the organization, attention shifted fast toward what comes next. The Toronto Maple Leafs made a decisive coaching change by firing assistant coach Marc Savard. The move came as the team's power play ranked last in the NHL. Savard had been responsible for running the man advantage unit since joining the staff in June 2024. The decision was confirmed and followed weeks of declining results in a critical area of the game. At the time of the change, Toronto's power play was converting at 13.3%. That figure was the lowest mark in the league. In the month of December alone, the Leafs scored just 2 power play goals on 27 opportunities. Those struggles continued during a stretch in which the team went 1-4 and won over 6 games, sliding toward the bottom of the Atlantic Division. The timing of the firing was notable. The Maple Leafs were not making a head coaching change. Instead, management targeted the assistant directly linked to the failing unit. Savard's role was clear. He oversaw power play structure, puck movement, and zone entries. His removal signaled that the organization viewed special teams as a central problem that required immediate action. Savard's coaching history included prior work with head coach Craig Berube. The two had worked together with the St. Louis Blues before reuniting in Toronto. Savard also brought experience as a former NHL forward, having played 807 career games and recorded 706 points. Despite that background, the power play did not show sustained improvement under his watch. General manager Brad Treliving addressed the change shortly after it was announced. He stated that Craig Berube's position as head coach was secure. That message narrowed the focus of accountability. The move placed responsibility on the power play alone, rather than the overall coaching system or roster structure. The immediate aftermath did not deliver a turnaround. In the game following Savard's dismissal, the Maple Leafs went 0 for 2 on the power play in a 6-3 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. The team earned the victory, but the man advantage unit remained scoreless. The issue that led to the firing was still present on the ice. Following Savard's exit, assistant coach Derek Lalonde was assigned responsibility for the power play. No external replacement was announced. The organization chose to adjust internally, keeping the same personnel on the ice while altering the voice behind the bench. The effectiveness of that decision had yet to be measured, and the pressure did not ease. It shifted. The pressure surrounding the power play grew heavier because of the players involved. Toronto's man advantage unit included Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares. Despite that group, production remained limited. Across 35 games, the Maple Leafs recorded only 12 power play goals in 90 chances. During the same span, the team allowed 4 shorthanded goals against, reducing overall effectiveness even further. Those numbers followed the team through multiple stretches of the season. On a recent road trip before the coaching change, Toronto went 0 for 10 on the power play. Individual games during that trip included 0 for 5 and 0 for 4 performances with the man advantage. Each missed opportunity added to the urgency inside the organization and intensified scrutiny from league observers. After the firing, the Maple Leafs entered the holiday break without announcing a structural overhaul of the power play. The unit continued to feature the same personnel. The difference was the staff direction. Derek Lalonde assumed responsibility for special teams, while head coach Craig Berube remained in place. Management made it clear that this was a targeted adjustment, not a broader reset. The standings added context to the situation. At the time of the coaching move, Toronto sat 23rd overall in the NHL. The team was 5 points out of a wild card spot and near the bottom of the Atlantic Division. Those numbers highlighted how little margin for error remained as the season approached its midpoint. William Nylander's performance in the first game after the change provided contrast. He recorded 2 goals and 2 assists against Pittsburgh, ending an 11-game goal drought. The offensive output helped secure a win, but it did not come on the power play. Even during one of the team's stronger offensive nights, the man advantage unit stayed quiet. Captain Austin Matthews had previously addressed the importance of special teams earlier in the season. He emphasized that power play opportunities often decide close games. His comments came before the coaching change, during a period when the unit was already trending downward. Since then, the numbers had not shifted. The Maple Leafs did not signal that further coaching changes were imminent. Brad Treliving's public comments reinforced stability at the head coach level. That left the power play as the focal point of internal accountability. With Savard gone and responsibilities reassigned, results became the only remaining measure. The next set of games following the break carried added weight. The power play was no longer tied to the coach who designed it. Each opportunity with the man advantage now carried broader implications, not just for scoring, but for how the organization's decision would be judged as the season moved forward. A coach was removed. The team was losing ground. Attention turned toward the bench. But instead of another dismissal, Brad Treliving delivered a message no one was prepared for. It wasn't damage control. It wasn't silence. It was a clear decision that reshaped how this season will be judged from this point forward. The decision came during a stretch of mounting tension inside the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Results had stalled. The power play had collapsed. The team sat near the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. One day earlier, assistant coach Mark Savard was fired after the Leafs' power play fell to last in the NHL, converting at just 13.3%. The move immediately triggered wider speculation about the future of the coaching staff. Savard had been responsible for the power play. Toronto had scored only 12 power play goals through more than a third of the season. In December alone, the team recorded just 2 power play goals across 27 opportunities. The Leafs were also outscored 14-4 during a 3-game road trip shortly before the firing. At that moment, the organization stood at 15 wins, 15 losses, and 5 overtime losses. Speculation escalated quickly. The firing of an assistant coach often signals deeper changes. Media attention shifted toward head coach Craig Berube, who was hired to stabilize the team after years of postseason failures. Questions centered on whether Savard's dismissal was the first step toward a larger reset behind the bench. Brad Treliving addressed those questions directly. Speaking to reporters, the Maple Leafs general manager made his position clear. "I want to make it clear. I support Craig fully," Treliving said. He rejected suggestions of internal division and dismissed claims of a disconnect between management and the coaching staff. He stated plainly that the situation required improvement across the entire organization. Treliving emphasized that Savard's firing did not isolate responsibility to one individual. "The players have responsibility, and this doesn't absolve anybody," he said. The comment reinforced that accountability extended beyond the assistant coach and included players, staff, and management. The timing of the statement surprised many observers. Public endorsements of head coaches during active struggles are uncommon. In this case, it came less than 24 hours after a staff firing and while the team remained in last place in the Atlantic Division. Treliving also declined to discuss future hypotheticals, stating he would not engage in speculation about what might happen next. Brad Treliving acknowledged that the power play struggles were a factor in the decision to remove Mark Savard, but he framed the move as an adjustment rather than a turning point. He stated that the change was one management could make immediately, while broader improvements would require contributions from players and staff. The organization confirmed that Derek Lalonde would take on a lead role with the power play, signaling continuity rather than overhaul. The endorsement of Berube also came hours before a key response game. On December 23rd, the Maple Leafs defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-3. The win snapped a 3-game losing streak. Max Domi scored the game-winning goal, ending his own 23-game goal drought. William Nylander recorded 2 goals and 2 assists. The result provided short-term relief, but it did not alter the broader context surrounding the team's season. Media coverage following the game noted the contrast between the on-ice response and the underlying concerns that remained unresolved. The Leafs were still positioned near the bottom of the Atlantic Division. The margin for error remained narrow. With Berube's job publicly secured, responsibility now rested more heavily on player performance and lineup execution. Treliving's remarks were also closely examined because of their timing. Assistant coach firings often precede further changes, but multiple reports indicated that no additional dismissals were planned in the immediate future. Sources stated that neither Berube nor Treliving Treliving was considered in danger of removal at that stage. The organization's direction was described as corrective rather than reactive. By declining to discuss future contingencies, Treliving limited speculation but also raised expectations. The message established a clear standard. Results would need to improve within the existing structure. With no further buffer layers between management and coaching, the next stretch of games would carry increased weight. The Maple Leafs entered the break with their leadership structure intact, their struggles documented, and their path defined. After the general manager's unexpected stance, attention turned away from the bench and back toward the ice, where outcomes would now speak louder than statements.
How hot is the seat on the coach Craig Berube in your estimation?
I mean, it's quite hot. I don't know if you've seen the news, it's just breaking now, but his assistant coach, Mark Savard, has been fired by the team. You know, obviously, under Savard's watch is the power play, and that's been, I'd say, one of the main issues that's led to where the Leafs record is right now. And, obviously, management is in a position where they don't want to fire Craig Berube.
Toronto Maple Leafs made a move that no one inside the locker room could ignore. One coach was removed. Responsibility shifted fast. Numbers exposed a collapse that could not be defended. A power play fell to the bottom of the league, and patience ended quietly but firmly. This decision sent a message, and its real impact had only just begun to unfold. The Toronto Maple Leafs confirmed they have fired assistant coach Mark Savard during the middle of the regular season. The announcement followed a stretch of poor results and a sharp decline in special teams performance. Savard had been responsible for the team's power play, which ranked last in the National Hockey League at the time of the decision. Savard joined the Maple Leafs coaching staff in June 2024. He was hired as part of head coach Craig Berube's staff after Berube took over the team earlier that offseason. The hiring reunited Savard with Berube, as the two had previously worked together with the St. Louis Blues during the 2019-20 season. At the time, Savard was dismissed. The team was positioned near the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings and sat last in the Atlantic Division. Over their previous 6 games, Toronto posted a 1-4-1 record, adding to mounting pressure around the club's performance. The power play played a central role in the coaching change. Toronto's unit was converting at a rate of 13.3%, the lowest mark in the league. During the month of December, the team scored just 2 power play goals across 27 opportunities. In one recent stretch, the Leafs went scoreless on 10 consecutive power play chances during a road trip. This season's numbers represented a sharp drop from the previous year. During the 2024 to 2025 season, the Maple Leafs power play finished at 24.8%, ranking 9th in the NHL. That unit featured many of the same core players now struggling to produce with the man advantage. The decision came shortly after a 5-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. In that game, Toronto again failed to generate offense on special teams. Days earlier, the Washington Capitals shut out the Maple Leafs 4-0, ending Toronto's streak of 71 consecutive games without being shut out. In that matchup, the Leafs went 0 for 5 on the power play. Following Savard's dismissal, the Maple Leafs did not announce an external replacement. Instead, the organization stated that assistant coaches Derek Lalonde and Mike Van Ryn would absorb the power play responsibilities moving forward. The team indicated no immediate plans to expand the coaching staff. Savard's departure marked the first coaching change of the season for Toronto. The move came just before the club's final game ahead of the holiday break, with the team scheduled to face the Pittsburgh Penguins next. Tension now shifted toward how the internal changes would impact results on the ice and whether further decisions would follow. Mark Savard's firing closed a short but closely watched chapter in his coaching career. Before joining Toronto, Savard had stepped away from coaching in September 2020 to focus on family matters. His return with the Maple Leafs marked his first NHL coaching role since that departure. The organization assigned him responsibility for offensive structure and power play execution, areas that later became central to the decision to remove him. The team's struggles were not limited to one opponent or one road trip. Over a 6-game stretch in December, Toronto collected only 1 point in the standing. That run included losses by multiple goals and games in which the Maple Leafs failed to score more than once. During that span, the power play did not register consistent improvement. Head coach Craig Berube addressed the situation following recent losses, stating that the team's execution had not met required standards. While Berube did not publicly assign blame to any single individual, the coaching change indicated an internal shift in responsibility. Savard's role was directly tied to the unit producing the weakest results on the roster. After the decision, the Maple Leafs confirmed that Derek Lalonde and Mike Van Ryn would manage special teams duties moving forward. Lalonde previously worked with power play units during his coaching career, while Van Ryn remained responsible for defensive systems. The organization did not announce structural changes beyond the redistribution of duty. The timing of the move placed focus on the remaining schedule before the midseason break. Toronto entered its next matchup with a need to stabilize performance before falling further behind in the standing. The coaching staff now operated with fewer voices behind the bench and increased scrutiny on in-game adjustments. Savard's exit also followed a pattern seen across the league, where teams have made assistant-level changes rather than head coach moves during early or mid-season downturns. In Toronto's case, the decision underscored the importance placed on immediate results. With no external hire announced, attention remained on how quickly internal changes could affect outcomes, and whether the move would be the last adjustment made during a season already marked by instability.
With Marty Bureau. Marty, here's an observation I've made. Nothing seems to come easy for this Maple Leafs team.
Another hit, another name added to the list, and suddenly the Toronto Maple Leafs are facing a situation they did not plan for. A key defenseman goes down mid-game. The starting goalie is ruled out again. Roster moves follow fast. The lineup shifts under pressure, and what comes next could change how the Leafs survive this stretch. The warning signs appeared during the game against the San Jose Sharks. Oliver Ekman-Larsson left the ice in the third period after his left ankle bent awkwardly during a play behind the net. He did not return. Teammates helped him off the ice. The Maple Leafs confirmed after the game that Ekman-Larsson would be evaluated further, with no immediate timeline announced. Before leaving the game, Ekman-Larsson had logged under 14 minutes of ice time. At that point in the season, he had already recorded 4 goals and 16 assists in 29 games. That total placed him among the top scoring defensemen on the Toronto roster. His exit immediately reduced the team's available defensive options during the final stretch of the game. Head coach Craig Berube addressed the injury following the matchup. He said the team would need more information before making any decisions. No confirmation was given on whether Ekman-Larsson would travel with the team or miss upcoming games. The uncertainty added pressure to a defense group that was already stretched thin. The timing made the situation more serious. Chris Tanev had already been out since early November due to a head and neck injury. Brandon Carlo had undergone lower body surgery and was ruled out for several weeks. Dakota Mermis was also sidelined with a knee injury. With Ekman-Larsson leaving mid-game, Toronto was suddenly without multiple regular defensemen at the same time. While the defense absorbed another blow, the goaltending situation brought more bad news. Joseph Woll was placed on injured reserve with a lower body injury. The move was made retroactive to December 4th. Woll had exited a previous game against Carolina after 2 periods and did not return. The team confirmed he would not be available for the immediate schedule ahead. In response, Toronto recalled goaltender Artur Akhtiamov from the AHL's Toronto Marlies. The move came as Anthony Stolarz was also unavailable due to injury. That left Dennis Hildeby carrying the workload in net. Hildeby stepped in during Woll's absence and recorded 33 saves in a shootout loss to Montreal. He later earned his first NHL shutout with 29 saves against Tampa Bay. These developments forced the Maple Leafs into constant adjustments. Defensive pairings changed, goaltender roles shifted, and with no clear return dates for multiple players, the team entered its next stretch without stability. What happens next depends on evaluations, roster decisions, and how long this injury list continues to grow. The pressure did not stop at the blue line or in the crease. The injury injury situation began to affect how the Maple Leafs managed games, shifts, and matchups. With multiple regular defensemen unavailable, Toronto relied on depth players to fill roles normally handled by veterans. Those players were asked to take on extended minutes against top opposing lines, changing the structure of each period. Reuters confirmed that Hildeby stopped 29 shots to record his first NHL shutout in a 2-0 win over the Lightning. That performance followed a shootout loss to Montreal, where he made 33 saves. Those games took place while Woll remained unavailable, and Akhtiamov served as insurance on the roster. The injury list created uncertainty heading into upcoming matchups. Sportsnet reported that Woll was not expected to play in the next game against Edmonton. That decision removed the possibility of a quick return and confirmed that Toronto would continue with an altered goaltending plan. At the same time, Ekman-Larsson's status remained unclear. Sportsnet reported that early evaluations suggested the injury might not be as serious as first feared, but no confirmation was provided. The team waited for further testing before determining whether he could return to practice or game action. Craig Berube acknowledged that the team had to manage day-to-day decisions based on health updates. Roster moves, recalls, and lineup changes became necessary as the season continued. Each update carried weight because of how many players were already sidelined. As the Maple Leafs moved forward, the situation stayed fluid. Injuries affected both ends of the ice.